Okay, so who hasn't wished they could, like, peek into the future,
Right.
see what's coming?
Mm.
It's like a fundamental human fascination,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
that's where prophecies come in.
Yeah.
These messages or predictions about what's to come
Yeah.
have always kind of held this mystique.
Yeah.
So today we're taking you on this deep dive
Mm-hmm.
into the world of prophecies and
Yeah.
belief.
Right.
And we're using excerpts from pasted text as our guide.
Okay. Cool.
We'll unpack how people interpret these pronouncements, the
Yeah.
impact they have,
Yeah.
and even tackle some modern-day controversies.
That's fascinating
Yeah.
because prophecies aren't just about events. They're really deeply intertwined with how we perceive the world,
Hmm.
our beliefs,
Yeah.
and even our psychology.
Absolutely. Pasted text really digs into that connection.
Yeah.
For instance, think about Nostradamus,
Oh, yeah.
the OG cryptic prophet.
Right.
We'll explore some of his most famous predictions
Hmm.
and why they still spark debate centuries later.
Right.
Then there are the biblical prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Those are taken much more seriously by many.
Right.
But can science actually weigh in on any of this?
That's a good question.
Can you prove a prophecy?
That's a question that always sparks heated debates.
I bet.
We'll also examine how to spot a false prophet,
Right.
which is more relevant than ever with the rise of figures blending religion and politics,
Yeah.
particularly within the Christian nationalist movement.
Okay, so first things first,
Yeah?
how does belief itself
Mhm.
shape the way we react to prophecies? It's
Okay.
like if you're convinced something's going to happen,
Yeah.
does that change your behavior?
Think of it like the placebo effect. The mere expectation of something,
Mhm.
even if it's based on a prophecy,
Yeah.
can influence how we act and even what we experience.
Mhm.
It's a powerful psychological phenomenon.
So it's not just the prophecy itself,
Right.
but the belief in it. That can be a driving force.
Absolutely.
But what happens when a prophecy clashes with someone's deeply held beliefs?
Mm-hmm.
Do they just reject it outright?
Not always.
Okay.
This is where cognitive dissonance comes into play.
Right.
People crave consistency in their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So when a prophecy contradicts their worldview,
Right.
it creates inner conflict.
Hmm.
Sometimes they'll double down on their existing beliefs,
Okay.
reinterpreting the prophecy to fit their narrative.
Almost like mental gymnastics, right?
Yeah.
Twisting things around to make them fit.
Right.
Can you give an example of how that might play out in real life?
Imagine someone deeply opposed to any form of gun control.
Okay.
If they encounter a prophecy predicting a future with stricter gun laws,
Yeah.
they might rationalize it by claiming it refers to a specific type of weapon
Right.
or a limited situation, thus preserving their core belief.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
So belief can be a powerful filter for how we process these predictions.
absolutely.
But how does this play out on a larger scale within communities?
It's interesting because shared belief in a prophecy can create incredibly strong bonds.
Mm-hmm.
It gives people a sense of purpose, a shared destiny,
Yeah.
and even fuels collective action.
It's like everyone rallying around a common goal,
Right.
united by their faith in what's to come.
Yeah.
That sounds positive.
Mm-hmm.
Are there downsides to this?
Of course.
Okay.
That same shared belief can also make people vulnerable to manipulation.
Okay. Yeah.
If a charismatic leader is promoting a prophecy, especially one tied to fear
Right.
or a sense of urgency,
Yeah.
followers may not question it critically.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Blind faith in any prediction
Right.
without careful consideration
Yeah,
can be risky.
absolutely.
So we've talked about the power of belief in general.
Okay.
Now let's get into some specifics.
Right.
Who hasn't heard of Nostradamus?
Right.
What are some of the prophecies attributed to him that people claim have come true?
Nostradamus is shrouded in mystique.
Right.
His prophecies, written in those cryptic four-line verses,
Yeah.
have been analyzed and debated for centuries.
I remember reading about his supposed prediction of King Henry II's death.
Yeah.
He wrote about a young lion overcoming an older one.
Right.
And get this, in 1559, the king was fatally wounded
Wow.
during a jousting tournament.
Oh my God.
Talk about eerie foreshadowing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of the most commonly cited examples,
Hmm.
along with his prediction of the Great Fire of London in 1666.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He wrote about blood of the just
Mhm.
and an ancient lady falling,
Right.
which some interpret as the destruction of St. Paul's Cathedral.
Wow, that's pretty specific.
Yeah.
And then there's the chilling prophecy that some connect to Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
Nostradamus used the word hister,
Right.
describing a child of common origins
Mhm.
who would seduce many with his tongue.
That one is definitely debated, as are many interpretations of Nostradamus's work.
Yeah.
The thing is, his language is so vague, it's like a Rorschach test.
Mm-hmm.
People see what they want to see.
Right.
It fuels endless debate about whether he truly saw the future
Right.
or if people are just finding connections after the fact.
So Nostradamus is like the ultimate prophetic puzzle,
Yeah,
open to countless interpretations.
right.
Let's shift gears to biblical prophecies,
Okay.
which carry a much deeper significance for many.
For believers, biblical prophecies are seen as divine revelation, offering evidence of God's hand in history.
A classic example is the prophecy of the Jewish exile to Babylon,
Mm-hmm.
foretold by prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And it actually happened around 586 BCE,
Right,
which for many solidifies their divine inspiration.
right.
Then you have the prediction of Alexander the Great's conquests
Yeah.
by the prophet Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
His book describes the rise and fall of empires,
Right.
including Alexander's, with remarkable detail.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these ancient predictions seem to line up with historical events.
Yeah.
But this brings up a big question.
Okay.
Can science actually weigh in on prophecy?
Mm-hmm.
Can you prove or disprove it scientifically?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
And the answer, as with most things,
Mhm.
is complex.
Okay.
There are compelling arguments on both sides.
Right, let's hear them.
Okay.
What are the arguments for science being able to prove prophecies?
Some people point to statistical analysis,
Okay.
like in Peter Stoner's book, Science Speaks.
Mm-hmm.
He argues that certain biblical prophecies coming true by sheer chance
Yeah.
is astronomically unlikely.
Right.
He suggests a supernatural force must be at play.
So it's like winning the lottery multiple times in a row.
Right.
The odds are so against it.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder if there's something more than luck involved.
And then there's the argument of historical verification.
Okay.
We've talked about the Babylonian exile.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And Alexander's conquests,
Right.
which align with prophecies in remarkable detail.
Yeah.
For some, this historical accuracy lends credibility to claims of prophetic accuracy.
There's also the claim that some scientific discoveries actually support biblical descriptions,
Right.
like the Bible references ocean currents and other natural phenomena
Right.
that weren't fully understood at the time.
Some believe these seemingly advanced descriptions point to divine inspiration.
Interesting.
But of course, there are counterarguments too.
Okay, let's hear the other side.
All right.
Why wouldn't science be able to prove a prophecy?
One of the biggest issues is interpretation.
Okay.
Prophecies, especially those written in symbolic language,
Yeah.
can be understood in vastly different ways.
Mm-hmm.
How do you measure that scientifically?
It's like looking at abstract art.
Right.
Everyone sees something different.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Plus, science is constantly evolving.
Right.
What might seem miraculous today.
Could have a perfectly natural explanation tomorrow.
So what appears to be a prophetic vision
Right.
could just be a phenomenon we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And then there's the inherent challenge of the supernatural.
Okay.
By definition, many prophecies involve things beyond the realm of scientific inquiry.
Yeah.
How do you test for divine intervention in a lab?
Okay, so it's not a clear-cut yes or no on whether science can prove prophecies.
Right.
But this leads to another crucial question.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know who to trust?
Yeah.
How can we spot a false prophet?
That's where discernment becomes essential.
Right.
Pasted text actually dives into the psychology of why people are drawn to these figures in the first place.
Yeah.
Often it boils down to a search for meaning,
Right.
belonging,
Yeah.
or simple answers in a complicated world.
I get that.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to feel like they're part of something bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and having a glimpse into the future,
Yeah.
even if it's fabricated,
Yeah.
Right.
can offer a sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a psychological safety net.
Yeah.
But how do we balance that human need
Yeah.
with the potential for manipulation?
It's a tightrope walk.
Right?
We have to acknowledge that vulnerability
Right.
while also equipping ourselves with critical thinking skills.
Right.
Pasted text highlights some classic red flags.
Right.
For example, a prophet whose predictions consistently fail to come true
Yeah.
is a pretty clear sign.
Right.
It also warns about those who use familiar language and symbols to gain trust,
Right.
like wolves in sheep's clothing.
So we can't just take things at face value.
Right.
We have to look beyond the surface
Yeah.
and really scrutinize the message and the messenger.
Right.
What are some other warning signs we should be on the lookout for?
The source also warns against those who try to lead people away from their core beliefs,
Okay.
especially within a specific religion.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a Christian leader who starts preaching messages that contradict the fundamental tenets of Christianity.
That definitely sets off alarm bells.
Yeah.
What about those who seem more focused on personal wealth and gain
Oh, yeah.
than genuine spiritual growth?
Right.
That always strikes me as suspicious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The pursuit of material wealth over spiritual values
Right.
is a major red flag.
Mm.
The source also cautions against those who twist scripture to fit their own agenda
Right.
or lack qualities like love, kindness, and humility.
So it's not just about what they say,
Yeah.
but who they are and how they live their lives.
Right.
Their actions should align with their words.
Absolutely.
But this list is pretty long.
Yeah.
Any other major red flags to watch out for?
A few more stand out.
Okay.
Be wary of those who promote extreme practices or interpretations,
Right.
discourage independent thinking,
Yeah.
or claim to have secret knowledge that no one else has access to. It's all about control and isolation.
So anyone trying to shut down questions
Right.
or critical thinking
Yeah.
should raise a red flag.
Absolutely.
It's like they're saying, just trust me blindly.
Right.
That's never a good sign.
Exactly. These signs aren't foolproof,
Right.
but they can help us be more discerning and avoid falling prey to those seeking to exploit our faith.
Okay.
Stepping back for a second,
Yeah.
are prophecies inherently bad,
That's a great question.
or can they serve a positive purpose?
I mean, we've been focusing on the potential for manipulation,
Right.
but there's also this element of hope
Right.
that often runs through prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Could they inspire positive change?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
At their core, prophecies are stories about the future.
Right.
And stories can be powerful tools
Yeah.
for inspiration,
Mm.
motivation,
Mm.
and even social progress.
Yeah.
Think about Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't a prophecy in the traditional sense,
Right.
but it painted a powerful vision of a future where equality reigned.
It gave people something to strive for.
Right.
A goal worth fighting for.
Exact.
That vision helped fuel the civil rights movement.
So it's not always about predicting specific events,
Right.
but about creating a compelling narrative that inspires action and change.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Even those not rooted in divine revelation can be catalysts for positive change.
Absolutely.
But how do we separate genuine inspiration from manipulation,
Right.
especially within religion, where faith is so central?
We have to become savvy consumers of information,
Okay.
particularly when it comes to matters of faith and belief.
Mm-hmm.
We can apply those red flags we talked about
Yeah.
to any situation where someone is claiming spiritual authority or making predictions.
So it's about engaging with the message, critically questioning the source,
Yeah,
and considering the potential impact.
absolutely.
Don't just blindly accept everything you hear.
Exactly. We have a responsibility to think for ourselves and not let others dictate our beliefs or actions.
Especially when it comes to something as powerful as faith.
Right.
Speaking of history,
Mm-hmm.
prophecies have appeared in cultures around the world.
You're right. Prophecies aren't limited to one time or place.
Right.
They've popped up throughout history.
Absolutely.
Fill me in on some other fascinating examples.
Ancient Greece had the Oracle of Delphi.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a priestess believed to channel prophecies from the god Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
Her pronouncements were often cryptic and open to interpretation.
Right.
Yet they held immense influence over decisions, both political and personal.
I remember learning about her in school.
Yeah.
Weren't kings and generals consulting her before major battles,
Hmm.
hoping to get a glimpse of victory or defeat?
Exactly. Her prophecies were highly sought after.
Right.
It's fascinating how some of her pronouncements were seen as self-fulfilling has. People's actions, based on how they interpreted the prophecy, would inadvertently bring about the predicted outcome.
That's wild.
Yeah. It shows how the belief in a prophecy can shape reality,
Right.
even if the prophecy itself is ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
What other examples come to mind?
Don't forget about the Sibylline books in ancient Rome.
Oh, yeah.
These books were said to contain prophecies about the fate of Rome and were consulted during times of crisis.
Right.
Their influence on political decisions was significant.
It seems like prophecies have played a role in shaping the course of history,
Yeah.
influencing everything from personal choices to the actions of nations. That's incredible to think about.
Absolutely. And that impact continues today as we navigate a world flooded with information.
Right.
We're still grappling with the allure of knowing the future and separating genuine insights from harmful manipulations.
Right.
Speaking of the future,
Yeah.
do you think it's predetermined?
Whoa, that's a big question.
Or do we have the power to shape our own destiny?
It feels like a philosophical debate
Right.
that's raged for centuries.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It's a question without an easy answer.
Right.
And brilliant minds have argued both sides passionately.
Yeah.
Some believe in a deterministic view,
Right.
where everything is already decided
Right.
and our choices are merely illusions.
Right.
Others champion free will,
Yeah.
asserting that our choices directly impact our future.
I could see the appeal of both sides.
Yeah.
Determinism offers a sense of comfort, knowing that everything happens for a reason. But free will empowers us to take responsibility
Right.
and strive for a better future.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Maybe it's a dance between fate and free will,
Okay.
where we have agency within certain boundaries.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
We have the power to make choices,
Right.
even if certain aspects of our lives might be predetermined. It's a thought-provoking concept.
And whether we subscribe to fate or free will,
Right.
the choices we make today will shape the world we inhabit tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's something we can all agree on.
It's a powerful reminder
Yeah.
that we're not just along for the ride.
Yeah.
We have the ability to steer the ship,
Right.
both individually and as a society. That's a message worth emphasizing.
Absolutely. This has been an engaging deep dive into prophecies and beliefs.
Yeah.
We've uncovered the potential for harm,
Right.
the power of hope, and the enduring human fascination with the unknown.
Yeah.
It's a topic that will likely stay relevant as long as we ponder the future.
You're absolutely right. And as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to explore how all of this plays out in our current world.
Right.
We're bombarded with information, opinions, and predictions, many disguised as prophecies.
Yeah.
It feels like everyone's claiming to have a glimpse of what's to come.
Right.
So how do we navigate this landscape and apply what we've learned about prophecies to our own lives?
It's crucial to be discerning consumers of information, especially when it comes to predictions about the future. We need to develop a critical eye question sources and evaluate claims against our own knowledge and values.
So we've talked about red flags when it comes to so-called prophets.
Right.
But what about prophecies themselves? We've discussed the potential for harm and manipulation.
Yeah.
But is there a flip side? Can they offer a positive vision, something to aspire to?
Many prophecies, even those not rooted in a religious context, often contain an element of hope. They offer a glimpse of a world that could be, a world worth striving for. Even if the path to get there is uncertain, that hope itself can be a powerful motivator.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a positive sense.
Right.
If enough people believe in a better future, they might actually work to bring it about.
Right.
The belief becomes the catalyst for action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about passively waiting for a prophecy to unfold, but actively engaging with the ideas it presents. We should ask ourselves, what resonates with me? What kind of future do I want to create?
So it's not about blindly accepting or rejecting prophecies, but using them as a starting point for reflection, discussion, and action.
Absolutely.
They can be tools for sparking critical thinking and engaging in meaningful conversations.
And that engagement is crucial in a world saturated with information and opinions.
Right.
We need to be able to discern, to separate the wheat from the chaff, and to determine what aligns with our own understanding of the world.
This brings us back to a concept you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that is and how it connects to prophecies and the potential for manipulation?
Christian nationalism is the idea that America is fundamentally a Christian nation and that its laws and institutions should reflect that. It seeks to merge religious and national identity, which can be problematic. When these lines blur, leaders can manipulate religious beliefs for political gain, claiming divine support for their agendas.
It's like saying, God wants you to vote for this policy,
right?
Or this political stance is the only one aligned with true Christian values.
Yeah.
That feels like a dangerous overreach.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where the link to prophecies becomes concerning.
Okay.
Within this framework, certain figures can present themselves as prophets, claiming to have special insight into God's will for the nation.
Right.
They can use prophecies to justify specific policies, demonize opponents, and sow division.
It creates an us versus them mentality where anyone who disagrees is labeled as un-American or even ungodly.
Right.
That's incredibly divisive.
Yeah.
And goes against the core principles of love and unity that many associate with Christianity.
And that's why it's so important to be aware of this trend and to approach any claims of divine revelation with a healthy dose of skepticism. We need to separate genuine faith from political maneuvering and ensure that our beliefs are not being exploited for someone else's agenda.
So this has been an incredibly insightful journey through the world of prophecies and belief. We've explored historical examples, delved into psychology, and even touched on some pretty complex societal issues.
And what we've learned is that prophecies, while fascinating, are not simple things. They can be interpreted in countless ways, used for good or for ill. And ultimately, their power lies in how we choose to engage with them.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to the idea that the future is not set in stone.
Right.
It's something we actively shape through our choices and actions.
That's a powerful message to leave our listener with.
Yeah.
We can't simply rely on prophecies to tell us what's coming.
Right.
We have the power to create the future we want, individually and collectively.
So to our listener out there, remember this. Stay curious.
Yeah.
Stay informed.
Stay engaged.
And never stop questioning.
Right.
The future is yours to make. It's a